W225CM Delaware. The new 92.9 FM and 1550 AM. WDLR Delaware. Ohio's best classic hits. WDLR.
Welcome to Local Licks. I'm Pat McLaughlin, and my really special guest today is one of the single most entertaining bands to ever come from Central Ohio. Everybody, this is Pure Jam. You've just heard a song that was never, ever released by my guest today. That song is called The Wrong Line, which we're going to ask him about that in a second. But it is an absolute honor and pleasure to introduce to Central Ohio for the first time in decades the members of Pure Jam. And guys, why don't you all just kind of introduce yourself over the mic, and then we'll get into the great detail about that song. And I cannot wait to start telling stories and getting stories out of you guys.
My name is Bentley Austin. I think, though, we better start by explaining that the statute of limitations on this band ended good 20 years ago. You can't come after us anymore.
That's right.
And we don't have any money anymore.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And Joe Mellencamp, the lead singer of Pure Jam.
And gentlemen?
Craig Austin, played drums.
And I'm Rick Austin, the keyboard player. And my wife texted my two daughters saying that the band was going to be interviewed by WDLR, and we were very excited. And both my daughters texted back, which band? And you know that...
We'd forgotten we were a band.
Yeah, you are forgotten at that point when your own daughters don't remember.
Let me tell you, I haven't forgotten. I have been wanting to get this band on our show since we started putting this program together a year and a half ago. And we're going to talk about some of my memories when I saw you guys.
Well, that just proves that the witness protection is working.
Yeah, it has. It has. It's worked very well for you guys. You know, when I was doing my research and I came across that song, you guys never put that out. You didn't seem to. I think it's an extraordinarily good song. Why didn't you guys jump on that?
Number one, that was... The videographer was Tom Vogelpool. He used to work for Channel 6. Great videographer. He rented a camera for that shoot.
Okay.
And it was the wrong camera. Everything turned out green. The poor guy, heartbroken. We didn't really care, but I think that probably added. It was a product we couldn't sell if we wanted to.
So you kind of thought at that time that with that experience, it didn't emphasize some of the harmonies that you guys are so well known for.
Right, and we had tried to write that song as a top 40, pretty basic song.
And for that era, I think you hit the ball out of the park with it. I really
wish
do.
The rest of the band had felt that way.
You didn't write the song.
Well, now you know why we never had a national hit.
But you did break into the charts, and we're going to talk about that in this show.
Yeah.
So this story is nothing to be ashamed of. You guys are very self-deprecating, but you don't need to be. Because in my mind, you're one of the most entertaining bands that's ever come out of this market. And,
very nice of you to say.
My kids will be glad to hear that.
Yeah, you kids don't realize how good your parents were, and we're going to make sure you get a good document. Hey, let's since we're talking parents, let's go back now. The Austin brothers come from New York.
Plattsburgh, New York, as does the guitarist who couldn't make it today. He is in New York.
Okay.
Plattsburgh, New York is 30 miles south of the Canadian border in the Adirondack Mountains on Lake Champlain.
And give him a shout-out. He'll want to hear his...
Glenn Dalton, the guitarist, and
real good.
Wrote half the songs.
Yeah.
And along with Joe, both lead singers of the band, basically. All the lead parts done by Joe, and Glenn did half of them. And but our background, our mother was a phenomenal ballerina, quite a tap dancer.
No kidding.
She's from Pittsburgh originally, but she went to Eastman in Rochester to take from this great Russian, ballet dude. Okay. And then my father, who was a businessman, but he could play a couple tunes on the piano, had a great ear. And they pursued. Well, I was tap dancing at age 7. Rick, why don't you explain how you got into the music aspect of things?
Well, our dad was huge on the big bands. He had worked in New York for a while, and he used to go out and hear after the clubs were done in New York, he would go to Harlem to after-hours clubs. And he has seen Louis Armstrong, Benny Goodman, and Tommy Dorsey jam together after hours. So we were brought up with these stories and it was highly romanticized. And I used to love listening to my dad and a good friend of his who'd actually played in some big bands get together and talk about the big band era. So I started out wanting to be a jazz player and I started out with a little trio in Plattsburgh. We were about 12. We were kind of like musical prodigies.
Really?
Yeah, and we played Dave Brubeck stuff. We played everything off of Time Out, which was a great Dave Brubeck album.
Yeah.
5/4 and 7/8, etc. Different time signatures, and that's how I got started. And I've been playing ever since.
Yeah, Rick though graduated from high school and got a full ride scholarship to Indiana University. Now your major was in composition, piano minor.
Yeah. Wow!
But he played the clarinet, upright bass. Rick could play almost any instrument.
I didn't realize you were that versatile.
6-string guitar. Yeah, he was very well advanced.
And so the family obviously is quick to get behind your musical aspirations. And so you're a combo at 12, but eventually you form bands, and somehow you, I believe, go to Indiana University. I beg your pardon.
Right. Rick had gone first.
Rick, you were at Bloomington.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I follow Rick, 1967. I think it was 68 when Rick and I went and played a lounge at Brook Park Road in Cleveland for the summer.
Okay.
Back in Plattsburgh, Craig, our drummer here, and Glenn, our guitarist, had a high school band that they were still playing with. So in 69, Rick is playing a club in Bloomington. I go back to Plattsburgh, New York, and we form the nucleus of Pure Jam. It was Glenn on guitar, Craig on drums. I was the bass player, and we had Jimmy Wells, another guy who was the singer. Rick joined us about a month
and trumpet
later.
player, if I remember, right?
I was a trumpet player.
Oh, you were the trumpet player?
Oh, yeah, I was a trumpet player. Anyway, Rick joined us about a month later. We played up near the Canadian border while Woodstock was going on 2.5 hours south of us.
Oh, that's great.
That was the summer of 69. We all head out then. I'm still in school. We all go to Indiana University. Rick has a house in Indianapolis. And our lead singer, within a year, got homesick, and he left, and that's when we met Joe at IU.
Well, you had another singer for a short period of time.
He really wasn't a singer.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
He was a mess.
I met these guys, and they told me they were going to be playing some teen dance at a church, and I went to see him, and the other singer was Randy. His name was Tannehill, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
Randy Tannehill. Was it Randy?
No, it was Randy. Randy Tannehill was an original sound guy. Randy was this guy's first name.
Yeah.
Right.
At any rate, they were really a great band, and so they were looking to get rid of him, and they did. By the way, I think they threw his cigarettes out of a car window on the way to Kansas.
And his lighter.
Yeah, and the lighter from the car. The plug-in lighter.
Well, I tell you what, now, Joe, when we go back from break, I want to pick up a little bit of your youth, and you've got a pretty good story to share with this listening audience about your family growing up. But we've already burned through the first segment. I'm telling you, it's gone quick. So everybody, you are listening to what is going to be an absolutely remarkable interview with one of the more talented, entertaining units that ever come out of this area. This is Pure Jam. I'm Pat McLaughlin. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Local Licks on Ohio's best classic hits, 92.9.
Hey gang, it's me, and it's time to turn on the turntable, plaster the platter, spin the pops to their tops, and cultivate the top 40. But before we do, I've got some news. Because of a recent FCC ruling, we can't play any drug-oriented songs on the radio. So instead, I've taken the drugs, and we're going to play religious songs all day. Dig? But before we do, here's a word from our sponsor.
Pure Jam, a rock group from New York, is playing all summer at the Serene Lounge on North High Street. That's Pure Jam, Wednesday through Saturday at the Serene.
Our first number is this little baller by the Lemon Sisters entitled We're All Sheep When We Sleep. Take it away, girls. Yeah. Sorry, kids. I could have sworn that turntable just turned into a turnip. While we're getting the turnip fixed, here's another word from our spider.
Pure Jam, a rock group from New York, is playing all summer at the Serene Lounge on North High Street. That's Pure Jam, Wednesday through Saturday at the Serene.
Okay, kids, we got the turnip fixed. Here we are, ready to put the heater on the VU meter. Take it away, Pure Jam, singing We're All Turnips When We Sleep.
Pure Jam, a rock group from New York, is playing all summer at the Serene Lounge on North High Street. Pure Jam, Wednesday through Saturday at the Serene.
Everybody, welcome back to Local Licks. You have just heard a commercial for a lounge called the Serene Lounge. And we're going to be talking a lot about the Serene because this is where I first find Pure Jam on my own. And these men were smart enough to actually to brand themselves. They actually bought time on radio commercials to promote their show. So we're going to be talking a great deal about your smart business approach as a part of to get the name of the band out and to get it so well known you begin to tour all over. Speaking of branding, a very quick plug, everybody, and I'm going to do this fast. Everyone, if you're listening on a computer or your smartphone, or you're just sitting in your home listening on the radio, open up those devices, go to the Facebook page, and go to Local Licks, L-I-X, Local L-I-X, and like the page. That's all you have to do. It only takes you 5 seconds, and we're counting those individuals who like us in hopes that we can keep our program out for many more months and years to come. You guys aren't doing any Facebook right now, right?
Not at all.
Okay. You're not doing a Facebook, a web page either.
Not at all.
All right, fine. So just forget those guys, but certainly go to ours and help us out. When we're going to talk about that Serene commercial and the experiences at the Serene, but Joe Mellencamp, we haven't had a chance to talk about you meet the band in Bloomington, and your household is obviously full of musical encouragement. Can you go ahead and share a little bit with your audience about who you are and your family and how it was like growing up in your home?
Well, as everyone knows, I grew up in a small town in Indiana, Seymour, Indiana.
Yeah.
And really, my mother was an outstanding vocalist. She claimed she's passed away now, but she claimed at one time she sang with a Letterman.
No kidding. Oh, wow.
But then decided to pursue a life of being a mom and stay at home, and that was the end of her singing career. But she was a singer. But we grew up. I started singing at a very young age. I was in school choirs. I did all the musicals in Seymour, Indiana. And then I got into a few small bands in Seymour. And quite frankly, my dad was absolutely against it. I would sneak out and play a little gig with a band at a church, and they would come and find me and take me home and tell me I couldn't do that. So at any rate, I went to Indiana University, and I was in my senior year at IU, had been in a couple of local bands, just doing campus dances, school dances, things. No success at all. And the guys in Pure Jam, the Austin brothers and Glenn, they were looking for a new singer, and they gave me a tryout. If I remember, I think I sang Eli's Coming at the tryout.
That was your tryout number?
Yeah, that was
Way to put him under the gun.
He nailed it.
Had absolutely no problem with that at all. And so they basically said that if I would join the band, we could go on the road. I could make about $100 a week.
Which was a lot of money.
Which seemed like a lot of money at the time.
In that era.
And, in 1970, it seemed like a lot of money.
You bet.
I had about 6 hours left to go at IU, so I dropped out of school and joined the band and headed off to Rockford, Illinois for our first gig. We were playing at the in Rockford, and if we got done that first week, they said we were the best band that played that club since Chicago Transit Authority had played there.
Now, that's a compliment. Holy Toledo. Wow.
But it's been downhill ever since.
Yeah. You guys started high and worked your way right down.
We had the bet, and I tried to run 70 miles in 24 hours and made about 22 miles in the winter in northern Illinois. And the guys that owned the bar wanted their $50 bet so bad they followed me.
Oh, really? But that's 21 more miles than anybody else in the band could have run.
Possibly
in history.
Now, Joe, there's obviously a lot of people listening right now with your last name, so go ahead and share who your brother is.
Yeah, well, my little brother's John Mellencamp, Johnny Cougar, if you
that's right,
if you're that age. And really, growing up, John and I would imitate the Everly Brothers and sing a little bit around the house. And John was a roadie for our band for a very short period of time.
Isn't that impressive?
In 1970, and as I tell everyone, he really sucked at it, and he went back to work for the telephone company and pour concrete. But he had a vision. He wrote some songs, went to New York, got a deal, and the rest is history.
Yeah,
John learned a lot from us. What not to do.
Yeah, but he also learned what to do. He copied all sorts of stuff that we did on stage and still does.
And I would agree with that. And I'm specifically with you, Joe, because I've watched a number of the videos that you have published or someone's published on your behalf. And
I didn't publish them.
You did not do that. But there's a lot of body language and gestures that you're doing ahead of what your brother starts to. So you did set a role, as a lot of older brothers do for their siblings.
Well, my brother will be the first to admit, and everyone in my family will admit, I'm the better singer. Always have been. And, John, if you hear this, I always will be.
Yeah. And he's welcome if he wants to rebut that in a future interview, sir. You're more than welcome to come on Local Licks. But so, Joe, you meet up with these guys, and they talk you into moving to Columbus, Ohio.
Well,
how do you guys do that?
We were on the road for a long time.
We were on the road, and we played the Serene Lounge.
The first gig we did, other than Lima and some of the outer cities, was the Agora. That was the first.
That's how you get into and that's a big circuit to be a part of.
And we were on our way. That was a Wednesday night. Drink and Drown. We were on our way to Lancaster to play Siggy's.
Yeah.
But the Serene came, quite a bit later. We were still touring everywhere.
And when you really were a regional band.
Oh, exactly.
Oh, yeah. We played we played in Denver. We played as far north as Marquette, Michigan. We never went farther south than
Kentucky.
Than Owensboro.
We learned it.
We played a country bar. We played a country bar in Owensboro, Kentucky. We knew we were in trouble when you looked at the jukebox and everything on there was country western, and we only knew Tiger by the Tail, and we did that song. We did that and Proud Mary like 10 times. And one night we were gone.
We were also thrown out of Columbus,
Indiana.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Twice.
At a high school thing.
We only played it twice, and we were thrown out.
You were ejected on both
escorted to the city limits by police.
Gosh, that's a badge of honor, guys.
Yeah, both times.
To go back to the fact that how adamant my parents were not in favor of being in a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
We were playing at the Little 500, opening up for Mitch Ryder, and my mom and dad came over to see us play, and we played You played 4 measures of the intro of Chest Fever, and they left.
Really?
They left. And
oh boy,
that's how much they were against it.
But did your father later go on and manage John?
Oh, later on,
I
can remember getting in my dad's car, and he put John's tape on at that time, turn it up to about 150 dB, and tell me how proud he was of rock and roll. And I go, yeah.
Your dad did that.
I remember that, Dad.
Oh, man. Talk about a man changing religion.
Yeah, he did.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
I think he saw the money in it.
It's funny what $10 million, $20 million will do to you.
You know what? Yeah, a good tape and $10 million will change anybody's opinion
there you go.
of rock and roll. So then, but eventually you guys do pull into Columbus and set your roots. Is that a safe statement to make?
We were on the road, and the Serene was one of the clubs that we got booked into.
Okay.
And I think they may have asked us back, and all of a sudden they asked us to be the house band.
Yeah.
And we were wanting to settle and record and write songs. So it was kind of a perfect situation.
It worked out great.
So did you all move into one home, or did you just?
Sure did.
No kidding. Just like the old days of wow.
On 11th Avenue.
On 11th Avenue. Oh, wow.
Jimmy Ryan, who owned both the Serene and the Sugar Shack, along with
and the Varsity Club,
all these clubs.
No.
He had one of these old houses up near the Sugar Shack.
Yeah.
So the married couples were upstairs, and I was, the rest of us, the party people, were
downstairs.
Well, I will tell you, that's where my first exposure to your band comes. And when we come back from our break, I'm going to just throw a few comments out. And the showmanship that you guys bring to the table, way ahead of anybody, in my opinion. I had not seen a show or your more professional, entertaining act than you guys were in those days. And we're going to talk about some of my memories as a part of this discussion, guys. But we have to pay bills. So I'm going to have you all come back after the news and some advertisements. Everyone, you're listening to Pat McLaughlin of the Gas Pump Jockeys interviewing Pure Jam. And we'll be right back.
You can put your school books on my shoulder, and you can wear my ring upon your head, and I will put your picture in my wallet.
This is Local Licks on Ohio's best classic hits, 92.9 and 1550 WDLR.
Music Radio, WDLR.
Okay, is Fox here yet?
I'm here.
Oh, Tim, it's nice having you do the ad for us. I've written the script all out. All you have to do is read it. It's right there. Are you ready to do it?
Yeah, let's get over with.
Okay, quiet, everybody. Here we go. Tim Fox for the Sugar Shack. Take one.
Hi, I'm All-American first-round draft choice, Tim Fox, and every time I go down to the Sugar Shack on North 4th Street, I get the closest shave.
Wait, hold it, cut. Hey, what's this close shave stuff, Tim, baby?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking about Mark Spitz. He gets a lot of money for his ads, you know.
Yeah, but he swims a lot of laps, Tim.
By the way, how much am I getting for this?
We'll talk about that later, Tim. Now, it's important that you get the specials in. Like at the Sugar Shack every Wednesday night, it's 2 for $1 from 8 to 10. Thursday night, happy hour prices all night long. Are you following me, Tim?
You know, I heard Archie got a new car for his ad.
Then you got to push the live rock music 7 nights a week. You think you can handle it?
Hey, no sweat. Let's go.
Okay, let's try it. Tim Fox for the Sugar Shack. Take 2.
Hi, I'm All-American first-round draft choice, Tim Fox, and every time I go down to the Sugar Shack, I get the closest shave.
Wait, hold it.
The Sugar Shack, North 4th at 11th Avenue.
Hey, how much am I getting paid for this?
Everybody, welcome back to Local Licks. I'm Pat McLaughlin, the lead vocalist of the Gas Pump Jockeys. In the house here is Pure Jam, and we've had just a very entertaining 2 segments so far. If you're just joining us, and you've heard yet another commercial, this time for the Sugar Shack, which we'll share with you in a few moments. There are stories about when they were the house band at that famous Central Ohio club. But I would like to, with your permission, gentlemen, is to go back to some of my memories of what I saw at the Serene, where you guys come in. You know, I look at campus that day, and the Agora was a big house, and the Castle, before it became the Red Eye, was big too. And Serene was not big. And before you know it, you guys are literally pulling business away from those guys to come to the Serene. And that's how I find you. And you guys you just blew me out the door with some of the things that you were performing musically, but also some of the antics and things that you did to make your band more word of mouth, if you will.
It was a magic time for everyone.
Yeah.
We've been on the road playing decent clubs, some not so decent.
Yeah.
But when we first hit the Serene, it was one night, I think it was a drink and drown night, where they had a crowd. The rest of the nights, no one was there. And slowly we built that up to 4 nights a week, lines around the block.
Absolutely. And because of that, I'd always go on Thursdays. Because, people were working.
So did you ever participate in the chugging contest at the Serene?
Well, I know my kids are going to be listening. So if it's all right with you, that's why God created the Fifth Amendment.
Well, Bentley would run those chugging contests, and inevitably people would be throwing up. And I have a very weak stomach. I would have to go outside on High Street and stand outside where I couldn't hear him describing what was going on.
Oh, God. I mean, you guys work the room so well, and I'm a front man in my act, and so I'm going to just give you a couple, and I'm always looking for ideas or unique things that you can do, but to bond with that audience. That's and Joe
set them on fire.
Set them on fire. So
dress up like a woman.
And dress up like a woman. I mean, the things you did. So I'm going to compliment you, Joe, right off the bat. One of the things that stands out in my mind was the Sly and the Family Stone song called Higher and Higher. And if you don't know that song, everybody, you need to hear it. It is a great song. These guys nails it. They nail it. But, Joe, you did something that was not musical, but it was visual. And so many people in bands lose sight of the visual aspects. So you were literally moving up to different levels. You had this all planned out somehow where you would be higher. And then you would be in another spot in the room or on the stage, and you would be high.
That's right. Yeah, we go out and get out in the crowd on tables. Up on the bar and had everybody singing higher with us.
You worked the room and you broke the plane. I've said that in a few other interviews. You were willing to leave the line, that imaginary line of stage, and go into the audience.
Or we'd bring the audience up on stage.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong either way of doing that.
We would always try to get the whole stage full of people at the end of Higher if we could.
It was, and I mean, you guys would let that thing go 2-3 minutes longer than maybe the record. I mean, it was really an enjoyable experience to be in the room at that time. Excellent.
Yeah, it was fun for us. And if you had the right crowd, everybody got higher.
Yeah.
The band.
Yeah.
I'd be standing up on my organ stool after a while. To end the song, I'd jump up in the air. One night, I jumped up in the air at another venue and shoved my fist through one of the ceiling tiles above me.
You're kidding.
Fell on our Gibson Bluegrass acoustic guitar.
Oh, no.
My guitar.
Yeah.
That was it for that.
God. Oh, man.
Guitar.
I'll tell you another memory that absolutely it's burned in my memory, but I don't mean to make that pun because I haven't seen too many acts do this. But you also did a song by, it's called Smoke on the Water.
Smoke on the Water.
Deep Purple. I really apologize. I knew it. I just had a momentary fade. And I couldn't wait every time I saw you guys because you would use pyrotechnics I don't know how you set the keyboard on fire. I would love to know what you did while you were playing that song, the keyboard and your arm. I don't know what the hell happened. But it was incredible to watch while you guys are playing that song phenomenally.
That was done in stages. Originally, a guy in upstate New York, 1969, taught me how to blow fire. And you take a welder's glove. Don't try this at home, kids.
Okay.
And you'd douse it with lighter fluid.
All right.
You'd light the glove on fire, and then you'd have the lighter fluid in your mouth and spit the lighter fluid above the flame, and a big ball of fire would come out. Then we were at Indiana University playing a frat house or dorm party, and one of the teaks, a very interesting fraternity, just shows us how to do smokeless shotgun powder coming out of an ashtray.
Okay.
With a little wired to a little button. And so that would come up. You'd have a big flash of, gunpowder. I'd have my glove in the middle of that, so that would light the glove on fire. Then I'd spit the fire. One of the last things we did was set Rick's organ on fire.
Yeah.
We would run the smokeless shotgun.
He didn't do that. He did that with his musical instrument.
That's true. It was a Hammond M3.
Yeah.
But they had built a road case kind of those old B3s and M3s were so hard to get around.
Yeah,
Joe and Rick had put a case, so we didn't care. It was homemade anyway at that point. But we'd start one end of the organ on the top on fire, and it'd just go down the smokeless shotgun. Now, several issues, though. I got burned horribly twice, and I set a guy on fire at Reflections in Cincinnati one time.
Yeah.
Luckily, he was so drunk that fire. We were up on a large stage. I blew the fire. It went down almost to the dance floor. It started coming up. It hits this guy in the chest. He's on fire.
His shirt's on fire.
What does he do? He doesn't go running, screaming to the exits. He starts pointing at the shirt, going, "Wow, this is so cool!" And I'm thinking,
And he's getting his friends. Hey,
look at this! Look at me! Look at me! The other time, we're doing Inagata Davida, the fire show to that, and all of a sudden the electric on the in the building kind of goes out. Well, I've got the lighter fluid in my mouth, so I don't know what to do. I'm not sure when it's going to start up again.
Sure.
So I think maybe I should spit it out. Well, it's kind of leaving my mouth. And I kind of spit it out, and the electric comes on instantly. So I'm pouring more lighter fluid down into my mouth, run out. They set the floor on fire, and I was wearing a gas mask. Luckily, the eyes were out of it, the glass eyes, because according to you guys, my face...
The flame shot right out
the eyes. Yeah, it was a big explosion in my face, and I had flames shooting out my eyes.
Oh, my God.
That was about a foot. It was amazing.
It was a great show.
It was really memorable.
And then in Zanesville, I built a bazooka out of a piece of 2-inch pipe, and we put gunpowder in it. Don't try this at home. And we tried it out in the parking lot. It worked great. We did it at the end of the first set. It was fine. Decided we needed a little bit more fireball out of it. And I think it's time now, Bentley, that you come clean with the fact that you pushed the button at the wrong time.
Nope.
Totally burned my right arm.
No, Joe, I wasn't 20 feet from that button. That was
my right arm from the elbow to my hand swelled up a blister about 2 inches high. They took me to the emergency room. I had my arm in a bag of ice.
I wasn't near that switch.
Okay.
I'm taking the fifth on.
That's right. That's exactly right. I'm loving these stories, but I've already got to go. When we come back, I need for you to kind of keep this topic moving, and I'm talking to Joe now. I would like, you have an infamous story about Halloween, and I would like you guys.
Greatest show ever.
The greatest show ever? Is that right? Is that how you feel about it?
I got a good New Year's story, too.
Okay.
We had good New Year's, but that was the best Halloween show.
We emptied the club. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
You can do that.
When you can do what you're going to hear, everybody. If that's not a good setup for the last segment, I don't know what else is, because it is a remarkable story. Everybody, we're listening and talking with Pure Jam, a stunningly entertaining band. And before I say something else, you guys, 40 years ago, I remember you're working the crowd the way you did and watching you guys set the keyboard and it's just incredible that I'm holding those memories all these years later. It's a real credit to you guys how good a group of entertainers you were.
That's called dementia.
Maybe so. Well, I may accept that disabling project there, but I'm going to go to commercial before I forget. Everybody, you're listening to Pure Jam on Local Links.
I'm not gonna write it down.
Think you're fat? You might just be bloated. Find out by calling now for a free trial of New Biotics, the new breakthrough that flattens bloated bellies fast. For a free trial, call 1-800-956-8926. Strict limit of 1 per household.
I used to be plagued by potbelly and constant bloating. After taking New Biotics, my belly flattened and continues to get flatter. My sense of bloating and discomfort is gone.
If you've got a big belly, you might not be fat. You might just be bloated. New Biotics is scientifically formulated with natural ingredients to flatten bloated bellies fast by cleansing pounds of rotting food and toxic sludge from your body. It even combats periodic heartburn and acid reflux. If your belly flattening results are too dramatic, simply reduce use to every other day. Think you might be bloated? See how much flatter New Biotics makes your belly. But hurry, call now for details while we're still giving it away for free. 1-800-956-8926. That's 1-800-956-8926. 1-800-956-8926.
Welcome to North Central Ohio's supermarket of shoes, Scioto Shoe Mart, your footwear superstore. For over 50 years, customer service has been our top priority. Our footwear experts will assist you to assure proper fit and comfort. We feature shoes for the entire family, whether it's work, dress, casual, western, or the top-of-the-line running shoes. Stop by today.
Speak out. Hi there, I'm Pat Curto, ex-Ohio State football player, and I'd like to speak out against the Tim Fox commercial for the Sugar Shack. True, Tim was an All-American first-round draft choice and always got the girls, but I could have been all that if I was a little taller and a little faster. But anyway, I think I should have done the Sugar Shack ad. I know the Shack. I go there, and I'm not treated at all like a football star. For instance, I pay full price to get in, sometimes even more, and everyone acts like they don't even recognize recognize me. It makes me feel great that these people take me for what I am and not some football hero that I could have been if I was a little taller and faster. And Wednesdays through Saturdays, Pure Jam plays. They're always joking with me because I'm usually dancing alone. One time I got up on stage and they pushed me off and I fell flat on my face. Great bunch of guys, and a credit to the world of rock. In closing, I again state that I should have done the Sugar Shack commercial instead of Tim Fox, and they could have gotten me for a lot cheaper, I'll tell you that.
Yet another excellent commercial that the band that we're interviewing today, Pure Jam, put out as a promotion for, actually you tie two commercials, the one you just heard in the previous segment and this one, to just again, it demonstrates, number one, how smart you were business-wise. You guys were willing to go out and spend money to promote your band. Hey, bands out there listening, who does that? Number two, your sense of humor, obviously, that you were willing to put a second commercial to counter the Tim Fox commercial in the first segment.
And I want to add, though, Pat Curto was not kind of the dummy in that commercial. Both Tim and Pat were best of friends.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And Pat was a very smart guy, and they just got along with the band, and we had tons of fun with them, and it was just a great time.
So two things here. We're going to go back. I've got Joe here is going to tell, and they'll all be chiming in on this experience of what he feels is the very best concert. At least it's debatable between the very best show and the best Halloween show. And they've also been kind enough to say that they're going to stay after this last segment, and we're going to have a bonus licks segment because we're not going to be able to squeeze all this content in. And they had so many things to share about their album, their movie. We're going to talk about the movie in this segment, but we're going to do a lot. But Joe, let's get into this amazing. And I can't wait to watch our engineer Doug Tracy's face as you tell this story.
Well, arguably, I think it was the greatest Halloween show we ever did. It was at the Serene Lounge, and Bentley fashioned himself to be an amateur magician, Bentley the Magnifico, and he did a bunch of really crummy tricks, a floating ball. So the trick he was going to do is he was going to do one of the cut a part of someone's body off. He was going to cut a gentleman's leg off and then reattach it. Now, you got to understand, it's Halloween. I'm in a nurse's dress, dressed as a nurse. Bentley is a magician. I forget what you guys were, but everybody's dressed up. And so this gentleman comes out of the audience, and unbeknownst to the crowd, he's a guy that was an amputee. He was missing one leg, and he had never shown up at the club with his prosthesis.
Yeah.
He was always on crutches, so no one recognized him. He cut his hair, had on a suit. No one knew.
He really bought in.
Knew who he was, but he was a friend of ours.
Yeah.
So he comes up. Bentley has got a skill saw, and he's cutting wood, so it's obvious that it's a real saw. This is a real deal. And so we've got a sheet up, and while Bentley is pretending to cut the guy's leg off behind the sheet, I'm throwing ketchup all over the sheet. It's just gruesome.
Yeah.
So Bentley parades back and forth. They remove his prosthetic leg while he's laying there screaming.
Unbeknownst to the audience.
Absolutely.
Bentley parades back and forth behind the sheet. Of course, everybody, this is stupid. This is just an act, you know. So then Bentley says, I'm going to reattach his leg now. And so voila, Rick starts playing There's No Business Like Show Business on the keyboards. We drop the sheet. The guy gets up. And he only has one leg.
He's missing a leg.
And we've got blood all over him. We've got blood all over him.
It was disgusting.
He looks at me and I go, well, that's show business. And he goes, you SOB.
Yeah.
He starts hopping around, chasing after me on one leg after me.
Oh,
finally, he catches up to me.
Okay. He jumps on your back.
Jumps on my back, so I've got a leg under one arm and a stump on the other. And Rick is playing the keyboard. There's no business like show business.
Yeah, well, but the reality of it, we had maybe, 400 people in the club? 400 people? The place is packed. It's Halloween. It's a big money night for the club. And remember, we're getting the door, and the bar is getting what they sell in liquor. We get done with the set. The show's over. We go back in the dressing room. We come back out. We're laughing about it. And there's absolutely no one in the bar.
It was just couldn't leave.
It was so gross. It was so gross that it emptied the place.
Yeah, they were as grossed out as I was.
Well, We played the last
I
set
knew what
to
was
nobody.
what was going to go on, and I was kind of disgusted.
Yeah, you know what's happening, but boy, you see it, and it's a whole different ballgame.
I mean, I bet we went through 3 gallons of ketchup, throwing it everywhere. It was just awful.
It's brilliant. I salute you guys. And good news, bad or good press, bad press. People went out and talked about Pure Jam again. I mean, that really works for the group. Brilliant, guys. Just kudos for your courage and your.
I'm not sure if brilliant is the right.
I do. I think it's hilarious. So there's so much to talk about. You guys end up leaving the Serene. You become the house band at the Sugar Shack, a major club for decades and decades, and you guys control that room. I hate to jump around. You guys break up for a while, then reunite again, and then.
Yeah, we had a 2-year hiatus.
Yeah.
Where a couple of guys went elsewhere to work.
Yeah.
And by this time, we all had jobs.
Sure.
And because back in the Serene and Shack days, we didn't.
Right.
We made our living. But, yeah, and we got back together. And one of our first gigs, when Craig returned to the band,
okay,
we hosted a pig roast every year down in Circleville with friends of ours down there.
All right.
At one of the guys' farms, Ted Rogers' farm. And I remember the night before the gig, we got together for the first time in 2 years, and we couldn't get through a single song. We could not play anything.
Well,
it was unbelievable. I mean, none of us could believe it. And we're thinking, how are we gonna play tomorrow?
Yeah.
And the next night with the crowd there and everything, it just was automatic.
It worked.
We were just fine.
I don't know that I've seen magic like that in our act too. Sometimes you have the worst practices and you come out and every's paying attention and it works.
I don't know. It was autopilot.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Now we're going to cover more of these topics in the bonus licks, but for this show, guys, you end up with a number 11. Behind the Lies is a real successful song for you. But in these last couple of moments of our show, I really need to. These guys were in a movie, and they had a big participation in the soundtrack. And so, Joe, this kind of falls back onto you a little bit. But could you tell a little bit about Saving Grace?
It was Falling from Grace.
My brother did
a movie.
I should have looked at my notes.
That's all right.
No, we were the Saving Grace.
You were the Saving Grace.
We were the Saving Grace.
I really apologize for that faux pas.
He had a club scene in it, and he needed a band to play the club.
Yeah.
And he asked us if he paid us. Well, we were willing to do anything for him. That was 1990.
Yeah.
We got together and we did that movie. And it's kind of funny. I'll tell my kids that I am a movie star.
You are.
They aren't, and they'll watch the movie, and I just only go to the good part in the movie, which is obviously where we sing and play in it. But that was a lot of fun doing that. Dub Taylor was in it. Hero Hemingway.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Kay Lentz was in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's a band from Columbus that has a hit record, knows how to entertain, actually ends up in a movie, and all good friends to this day. It's really very, very impressive. We're going to invite everybody to go onto the website at just type in Local Licks and then Pure Jam, and you'll get links to the podcast. And these guys are going to hang around and tell some more wonderful stories. And I want to thank you all. I mean, I tell you, as somebody, I'm not on your level, but I'm in your world. And I have to tell you what an amazingly brilliant band you were, both as musicians, but also as entertainers. And I really salute you for that latter part, too, guys, because so many bands focus on music.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for putting together such a fine show.
Well, God bless you for saying that, everybody.
It's great that anyone remembers us.
Oh, no, I've been wanting to get you on for a year and a half. I just couldn't find the right ways to reach you, but I did, and I'm thrilled about it, everybody. This is Local Licks. I'm Pat McLaughlin, and my guest, Pure Jam. What an honor to have you guys. Thank you very much for coming on with us.
Thank you.
And that's a real good sign. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey, hey, hey.
Hey there, it's Mark Bingaman from the Mid-Ohio Breakfast Club.
Hey, kids, you don't wanna get down. Well, I'll think about it when my head
everybody. Welcome back to our very special edition of Bonus Licks. Now, this, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is after we've just completed the interview that you just heard on the radio, Pure Jam, our guest. We come back in and add, because we couldn't get everything that we wanted to get in the 1 hour show. And so there are things that I'm going to be tossing at Pure Jam, guys, and you're very verbal. This is a very free-flowing. We're not worried about commercials now. We're not worried about timelines. You guys can tell the stories as long as you think it's appropriate. One other thing we're going to do at the end is the band has given us permission to put 3 songs of theirs, and we're going to add that to the end of this segment, and you will get almost a complete hour now of Pure Jam and their music and this Bonus Licks. And guys, we just played a song. It was recorded live at the Sugar Shack. And again, for those just listening, the Sugar Shack was a monster club, and it brought in some of the biggest names of the day. Of which the one that's biggest to me was Bob Seger. You guys are sharing the stage with. I mean,
but we played with Leon Russell at one point. He just died.
Are you kidding? At the Sugar Shack?
No, not at the Sugar Shack.
Hall & Oates played the Sugar Shack, though.
Hall & Oates?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
In the really early days, yeah.
No way. Wow.
As did, what? Was it, who am I thinking, Jim Messina or somebody?
Can't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We did our first song, Howard Johnson Moon, was done at Bob Seger's studio up in
it was.
Warren, Michigan.
Michigan.
Well, it wasn't his studio.
Pampa Bowling Alley.
Pampa Studio.
And
that's
it's,
where
by
he
the
did
way,
record.
it's still there.
The bowling alley
The bowling alley is still there.
Wow.
Pampa
Lanes.
Lanes. They turned the studio, I think, into a party barn or something.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's still there. I saw it just a couple of years ago.
Would you mind sharing with this audience what it was like at the Sugar Shack and some of the...
Well, Jimmy Ryan owned both the Serena and the Shack and a few other clubs in town, or quite a few other
Varsity
clubs.
Club, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
And but anyway, partial owner of the Beer Stube, along with
really?
Malika or whatever his
Joe
name is.
Malika.
Yeah. But anyway, Jimmy's selling the Serene. Tells us to keep on the low. He didn't want us to stay at the Serene because it wasn't. He wanted to change the Shack, which at the time was a hard rock club, and wanted to soften it up a little bit, try to get more college up there, more of that Serene crowd that we had, more of a top 40 crowd.
Okay.
Well, we move up to the Shack. We're playing the Wednesday through Saturday, and the Shack, we were there 2.5 years. But boy it was kind of hard work because the hard rockers who were polite enough to us but didn't really like us had nowhere other club to go at the time. There was no other hard rock club. I think one finally opened up in Hilliard or something.
Well,
but
yeah, this was before Alarosa, for instance.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're probably dating that 6, 7, 8 years ahead of the album.
Yeah, so it was a tough sell. The only thing, if you guys remember, that everyone, 100% of everyone there liked was the Beatles show.
Yeah.
And we had some old films of Beatles. But the hard rockers got into the old Beatles stuff, as did the townies and the college kids. But it was a tough go. That's the closest I ever came to becoming an alcoholic was at the Sugar Shack.
Now, you guys did use video in your act. Again, for bands at a local level, you guys are way out ahead of the curve.
And that was 16 millimeter film that we were using.
Every time you did that Beatle bit, you guys ran a Beatle footage behind you.
Yeah.
Which is a brilliant. I mean, it's such a great.
And probably violated copyright laws.
I don't know if anybody would chase you down on that, but I mean, I salute you again for that type of thinking. Whose idea was that?
Mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had come from film and at Indiana University, so I knew places you could go to get. And these were pretty neat. It showed the Beatles in the studios.
Oh,
I mean, it wasn't
nice.
anything like just from a movie. It showed these guys in everyday life. So, and there were places you could go and buy 16 millimeter film. And we bought this big screen, one of the first of these portable screens. You snap on the frames. We got the first one in Columbus, I think.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, who would have? 99 out of 100 wouldn't do what you guys did, and put your own funds into it.
I'll tell you what bands wouldn't do. When we played down in not Circleville, what's the town near Chillicothe,
right
at
behind
a movie theater.
Yeah.
And it was New Year's Eve, and we set up a Tarzan swing above the crowd because we played in the balcony of the place, and we had our very slender roadie at the time, Randy Turflinger.
Yeah.
Crawl through the ceiling tiles and hook the rope up.
No.
And that night we all lined up to swing out over the crowd at midnight, and one of us, me, neglected to put his foot in the loop. I was drunk enough to where I thought, do I really need to put my foot in that loop?
And you
I don't
didn't
get
have-
that.
And gloves, too.
No, I had no gloves. So I swing out, and I swing right down to the dance floor, just like straight, and I open up my hands, and smoke comes off my hands.
Rick. Oh,
Oh
God,
man!
your money.
I mean, I had second-degree burns,
Oh, I bet you
and I still had to play.
Yeah.
And then I had to play the next night too.
And
which
by
was
the way, we had
really
an
rough.
outstanding wet T-shirt contest down there.
In that same evening?
That was.
Joe got to be in the dressing room with the ladies, kind of like Donald Trump.
Yeah, I made sure that the water was cold.
Yeah.
That was very
And
thoughtful of you, Joe.
I'll tell you what, though, Joe should
Taking
be...
one for the team, did you?
I think the best show we ever did was the Dive for Life. And
Oh,
Joe, you should
Dive
talk
for
a little
Life.
bit about this and how you drank the whole thing
Yeah,
out.
when we were playing the Serene, we wanted to have fog, and the only way we could do it was we go by dry ice.
Yeah.
And we wanted to really have a lot of fog. And so we crushed this dry ice into it's almost like snow. And we had these big garbage cans, plastic garbage cans, and we put trough heaters in them to get the water as hot as we could.
Okay.
We'd run them all day to get the water hot. And then we had a hose that dumped all the dry ice into it. And so we had these big buckets of water after we got done with the fog. So one night the crowd wasn't doing very much, and I said, tonight we're going to have the Dive for Life, and no one knew what that was. This 50-gallon or maybe 35, 40-gallon bucket of water is sitting there, and I dove headfirst off the stage into it.
You're kidding.
And, of course, it rolled and had people sitting on the floor for this, and it got them all soaking wet, and it seemed like a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
So that developed into a more crazy stunt. I started getting a ladder out and going up 4 feet, 5 feet.
Red cape with a hoodie.
Yeah,
And,
silver lame.
Are you kidding?
Silver lame jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And then we set the water on fire one night, and my plan was just as the fire goes out, I'll jump, and it'll look like I jumped into the fire. But what it did, it melted the plastic container all the way down to the level of the water.
Okay.
And I still had to jump.
Because by that time we're all going jump,
jump.
and
I'm 6 feet up on a ladder, getting ready to jump head first into this thing. But the last one I did was up at the Rain Tree, off of about maybe 6-8 feet up into what we called a bucket of chicken soup, which was basically a big bucket of water, one of the big 50-gallon trash cans of water with a dead chicken, a plucked chicken, down in it. And I went through a hoop of fire with my feet chained together, and I came out with the chicken in my mouth.
Yeah, never forget that.
And there's a rumor that various people retrieved that chicken, and they went out and they barbecued that chicken that night and cooked the chicken and ate it.
Pat, the best part of Joe's show, though, was at the Serene. Everyone knows after the first time, if you're in front of that trash can that's going to be tumbling over, you're going to get wet.
Yeah.
They would line up along that dance floor and get as close to that.
Really?
Every
so they could
more
get
and
wet.
more people. They'd be fighting over
was a badge of honor.
chance to get wet. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh, and this is a band.
Yeah. And my brother.
that's what we said at the time. This is a band.
Oh, God, no, I think this is phenomenal.
And by the way, my parents and my little brother John came one night to see that at the Serene.
At the Serene?
Yeah, they saw that. And I don't think he's incorporated that into his acting.
I don't think he has to.
I don't think he can't swim is his problem.
His management would never let him take the risk that you took. I love that. I mean, you guys are geniuses at entertainment.
Yeah, today you'd have to wear a yellow vest to do that.
Nobody understands this aspect of it as a rule in music, though. I mean, it's music, but to me, that's the fundamental level. You have to play that really well. I'm not I'm not minimizing this.
That was the most important thing for us was the music.
But this focuses on Central Ohio. We traveled all over the Midwest. We would do 5 hours a night in clubs, and we do 35 nights in a row. We do 30 nights, take 2 nights off.
We played 7 nights in Denver, got done, packed up all our gear ourselves, which is what we did like idiots for years, and drove to Marquette, Michigan, and got there in time to set up and play in an officers club at K.I. Sawyer in Marquette.
You guys were just dead on your feet.
In the winter.
It almost killed us.
In the winter.
Yeah.
That's called bad routing.
Yeah. You guys got a chance to open up for a lot of big names, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
what was the place? Is it Darbydale? What was that place out there on the
Valleydale.
Valleydale. We played with Leon Russell there. We played with Three Dog Night.
Yep. The Young Rascals.
Guess Who?
Yeah, the
Guess Who? That was at IU. Yeah, that was. I got a story about the Guess Who.
Yeah.
They were the greatest guys in the world. They hauled their own gear, by the way.
No kidding.
Yeah, they did. They set it all up themselves.
Oh, man, close to my heart.
They had a road manager guy. There were 5 of them.
Yeah.
And they were great guys. And Craig, my brother Craig, broke a drum head. He's playing
First
away.
song of the
just the first song of the set.
This is in front of 5,000 kids.
Their drummer crawls along the back of the stage. We're still playing, of course.
Yeah.
Craig can't play his snare drum. Takes his own snare, puts it in place of Craig's.
Oh, really?
Crawls off. Okay? We're still playing this tune, and I can't even remember. I think it was Mitch Ryder or something. I can't remember what the tune was. But now Craig's at least got a drum to play on.
Yeah.
In the meantime, this guy, their drummer, is putting a head on Craig's drum.
One of his own heads.
No kidding.
He ended up giving me the head.
And then he
Let you
crawls
keep it?
back, swaps them out while Craig is still
All
playing.
during the performance.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that guy was amazing. It's incredible.
You know, they were trying to be, that to me is entertainment.
Well, that's an example of how the show must go on, right?
Yeah.
And another example of that was in Rockford, Illinois. Craig had this big leather top hat, like an Abe Lincoln top hat that he wore. He had it made. And he would set it beside his drum set when he played. Well, we finished, we were doing, what was the Vanilla Fudge? We did 2 songs together.
Keep Me Hanging On.
And then we went into another song. Well, I was sick. And between the 2 songs, I threw up in Craig's hat because I was so sick. But we finished the song.
That was Kalamazoo, Michigan, I think.
No, that was Rockford, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Then I had food poisoning the time we played Kokomo.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking.
And had to lay on the floor and couldn't sing at all.
When we first started at the Serene, we didn't have Glenn because he had hepatitis and mono at the same time.
Oh, dear.
And he was sick in bed. He couldn't get out of bed for, a couple weeks at least.
Man. And you were booked every Wednesday?
And we were booked.
Thursday through Sunday?
Yeah. And so we played without him almost all summer. And I mean, I got to the point I was desperate. I'm having to play guitar solos on the organ. You know, I mean, which makes no sense. I mean, it was tough. And when he came back, the first week or maybe 2, he couldn't stand up. He had to sit. He had to sit down.
He was that weak still.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think people realize how dependent each band member is on the other band member. When you're in an environment like this, it's family, and that's a terrible story what you're told. He's sick, and he has to be. I'm not making any minimization of your sickness, but you stayed on stage, and I do agree. The gig is king.
Oh yeah.
You have to be at your gig unless you're like you're a guitarist with. My God, you had a long relationship with Gary Puckett. It appears from my research. Is that
we opened
accurate?
for Gary, but didn't know him that well. Who were the guys we got to know, though? I mean, I'll tell you a great story. Funkadelics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
George Clinton.
George Clinton.
I love
We're
it.
doing
Funkadelics.
and you guys can add things because I forget some of it. But as I recall, it's down at Rio Grande College in their big auditorium.
Okay.
And we're going to open, of course, for the Funkadelics. Well, we get there to set up our stuff, and they already have their giant spaceship that would hover over the stage set up. Well, then they find out that we're opening for them, and they don't want, they can't have our band using their spaceship. So they have to cover it, and they take table linens from the cafeteria. So you have this thing that looks like a spaceship that's covered with linens. But the thing about that event was we're doing Friends of Distinction. You've got me going in circles. We're doing some interesting original stuff at this. The crowd's not necessarily getting into us that much as I recall.
They liked us.
Okay, well, hard to say.
But they were there to see.
I thought we went along.
But all of a sudden,
Funkadelic band.
well, all of a sudden I see the Funkadelics, and they come out of their dressing room, and they're aligned along the wall, and they're listening to us for at least a couple tunes.
Wow.
And that was really
That's
kind of
performance
a feather.
anxiety.
Yeah. Now, we, though, returned the favor by being in the front row of their show, which was spectacular. And, of course, the Funkadelic show goes on forever.
Yeah.
And, Rick, pick it up when we look back. And
Well, here's what was stupefying. We're right there in the first row watching these guys, and they're great. And we were fans of theirs. We had done a song by Funkadelic, the group Funkadelic, before they became Parliament Funkadelic.
Oh, okay.
We'd actually done one of those songs. So we knew the stuff. And we turn around and look back, and the auditorium's empty. Everybody's left. They were frightened.
Really?
Or they had curfew. We don't know.
Well, they needed a safe space, maybe.
That could have been, yeah.
No, they were frightened, trust me.
Yeah, it was conservative school, I think. And they were out there a little. Was it the great bassist?
Well, they were all dressed in costumes.
I'd have to check on that, of course.
They all wore different costumes. One guy dressed up as an Indian.
But they were showy, though. I mean,
they
were doing what you were doing, but had more money.
Well, they had a bass singer that I was living for.
But going back to the theatrical, if you had their funds, would you not have been thinking in terms of big spaceship type of effects? I mean, you guys are.
Yeah. I think Bentley may have been on a big spaceship.
You mean
one time.
If the spaceship was set on fire at some point in time, we might consider it.
You know, Greg, that's a very solid point. But I mean, I think what you did with the means that you had is incredible.
Yeah,
just
incredible. We had fun. I still think a lot of that came from we were kind of bored of playing the music night after night after night.
Could be right.
And let's get a little original. Let's get a little. I don't know. That's the way I was. You had one question in your questionnaire, and I kind of course, blew it off like I do most questions. It had to do with what would you say to what is the line? What would you say to someone that would want to start out in the business today?
That was exactly what
and
I asked.
My line
if you
was,
had some advice.
if you had some advice, my advice was don't do it.
That was your answer.
But, the truth is, you get away from the music for years and years, and you look back at your life. We're all in our 60s now. And you don't realize at the time, but afterwards, probably the best years of my life were spent with pure jam, without question.
Yeah.
Family afterwards is very important, all that sort of stuff. But man, I'll tell you, the fact that we were able to write some songs, so you can go back now and listen to these songs, you're kind of proud of doing that, and then you realize it seemed like kind of a work at the time. We wouldn't have it any other way at the time.
Yeah.
But you get done, and you're done with it and all that. But do you guys agree?
Well, you've got a son that's involved in the music business,
right?
And I've got a son that's.
I was going to bring it up because I know your son is out making.
My son's in New York playing, and I'm people say just what Bentley said. Why would you ever try that? You'll never make it. Yeah. And I have to look at him and I say, well, I can't say that. My brother at one time. People said, well, you're never going to make it, and he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, how's Ian's career going?
It's going very well. I mean, he's a model and a musician.
Okay.
He was ranked the 25th male model in the world at one time.
Oh,
so he's got the looks. He's talented, but he's got a very New York sound. It's not pure jam, but I think he's talented. People seem to dig him.
Should be pretty proud.
They seem to dig him, and I saw a picture of him. He was playing in New York City the other night, and he had a big hoop skirt on. So
there you go.
He's following his dance footsteps.
Another thing, though, you play for so many years, and you say to yourself, "Gee, if this or when this comes to an end, what the heck am I going to do?"
Yeah.
Little do you realize, Rick learned by himself how to repair all electronic. The old phase linear amps used to blow up all the time.
Yeah, anything. I taught myself electronics with two goals in mind: to fix our own stuff.
Sure.
To design certain. I wanted some better percussion for my organ and stuff. And then I thought, man, this is going to end at some point. I better figure out some means of getting a job. Brilliant. And lo and behold, I had a 30-year career as an electronics guy.
Is that right?
Yep.
Now,
And mine, I own event venues.
yes,
and
which,
mine,
go ahead and pitch it.
Well, I own the Vault in downtown Columbus.
Which, can I add to that? We actually had our wedding there for my daughter Karen.
Did you really?
Yep, absolutely had a great experience.
And you still invited me.
I still invited you. Yeah, I knew that too. No,
we've taken over the old 1916 post office in Newark, and that seats 600.
No, wow.
But so I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Well, little did I realize that I was the guy, along with the rest of the band, but I was the guy that felt I have to go out and talk to everybody in this club so they'll come back.
I share the
and
same.
we can keep our money coming in.
Right.
So I didn't realize I was kind of a salesman at the time, you know, until right after initially Kentucky Fried Chicken was hiring managers and stuff like that. So I said, I'll give this a try.
Yeah.
And I said, but boy, this interview is going to be kind of sad. Well, I had learned so much being on the road, dealing with club owners,
That's right,
clients, that I took over this interview, turned it around like you're supposed to do, and talked this guy into hiring. He kept coming back saying, yeah, Bentley, but you never set foot in a fast food place. And I go, but I find out that the guy used to be from Plattsburgh, the Air Force Base. I'd get all this make a friend, make a sale type stuff happening. So we all had talents that we did go on and use, you know.
Yeah, I always salute you on that, by the way. I feel that's very important to go out and talk to the audience between breaks or to thank them at the end of the night.
Oh, sure.
You say, well, they're actually very excited about meeting you.
Oh,
I'm not doing it for my ego. I just want to make sure that they walk away.
There are people that keep coming back, and you do want to go out and thank them. You're genuinely,
I am. I agree
thankful that they're taking the time. And
there were a few we didn't want to come back.
Well, gentlemen, you should be very, very proud of yourself. I mean, you've accomplished so many things. You're actually you slough it off like it was nothing. But I'm telling you, so I can't use the word peer, but I'm in your world. And I really admire what you guys were doing when I saw you and the risk you took. Most players will play the music, but not willing to take the risk that you guys were willing to do. That stands out in my mind 40 years later. I remember what you guys were doing.
We were actually, together 30 years when we did the last gig with John Mellencamp in French Lick, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Like 33 years.
Amazing.
This band, same five guys.
Same five guys together. And that in itself is an unusual situation. So I want to thank you all, guys. Rick, Craig, Bentley.
For remembering.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
John,
thanks to your listening audience for still being alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, I thank you as well. You came up from Cincinnati today, and you should have seen my face when he walked in the door because I just didn't expect.
I didn't even recognize him.
I was expecting just Bentley, and you would have done very fine. But to have these four men here has been a real honor for me, and we thank you very much for coming on Local Licks. Now, for those still listening, we want you to hang in now because we're going to play three of their songs, and that'll end up being another 35-40-minute show. You guys feel free to use the links any way you like, guys, to help promote your memory.
Thank you very much.
And we'll do the same thing on our end when we get the website up for you guys. Everybody, this is Pure Jam. Thank you for listening to Bonus Licks.
Down, it's just a sound. the ones who built them up. You can tear them down. You're the ones who built them up. You can tear them down. You're the ones who built them up. You can tear them down. You're the ones who built them up. You can tear them down. You're the ones who built them up. You can tear them down. You're the ones who built them up. You can tear them down. You're the ones who built them up. You can tear them down.
And when I see you again, I want you to know about a little hill where we kids used to go. And when I know you again, I want you to see
Let's do it one time. Everybody help us out. Will you take the higher? Yeah. Oh, it's so nice to be back in Lima, Ohio tonight. It's so nice to be back home. Everybody, one more time. Here we go. Will you take the higher? Yeah. Now we've got an awful lot of friends here tonight. An awful lot of really good friends we've made here in Lima over the past year while we've been here. And if there's anybody out there that knows the band or would like to, we'd appreciate if you'd come up on stage and help us do this number. Because we can really get high that way. So if you want to come on up, you can come on over the side. If you can come up this way without tearing down these lights, it'd be nice. That's right, just come on up.